cool. Oh, hello everybody. But I was going to tell you, I was on the other side of one of these and I was like, this is what people see when they come on my show. I was like, this is what people see. That's pretty cool. You don't often get to be on the other side of things. So it's neat. It's like seeing things from another person's perspective. So, all right. Oh my God, we're live. We're live, everybody. Hello. And I forgot to put my banner on. There we go. Look at that. It's beautiful. All right. Hello, you guys. How are we doing? Happy Thursday, everybody. I hope everybody is doing well, staying safe, and doing what they can to stay in the healthiest version of themselves. I know that things are crazy right now. I think I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge the fact that that it's just crazy right now. And I don't say that in a bad way. It's just a lot of stuff is happening. So I hope everybody is staying safe, staying healthy, and doing what they can to show up in the best space for themselves so that we can show up in a great space for everybody else. But as you guys come in, say hey, let us know where you're coming from, how you're doing, if you're coming from Facebook or YouTube. And please feel free to drop in, join the conversation, ask questions, drop comments. I will go ahead and pop them up on the screen and answer them. If you catch us on the replay, #replay. And as the banner says, if you feel that you receive value from these episodes or you love just supporting this show, please share this episode, share it out to as many people as you can so that I can continue bringing you amazing stories and allowing more people to step up to the table and use their voice. So without further ado, I'm going to drop into my epic intro. Say hey as you come in. Let us know how you're doing. And then we're going to get going with this. I'm really excited. This is going to be fun.
Yeah.
All right. Hello and welcome to the Tough Woman Table, everybody. Hello. This is a table where I invite some super badass tough women like Susan here to take a seat and join in on the conversation and share her amazing story. As Tough Woman, I believe that all women have a power within themselves to live life authentically, free from fear, confident in who they are, and empowered to go out and create a life that sets their soul on fire. I share this belief by championing tough women who have walked through the fire, felt the fear, faced adversity, and kept pushing through it all. Women who now live the life they want as the woman they were created to be, and women who own their story so other women can embrace and own theirs as well. Because as we all know, and as I'm one day going to be quoted in the history books as saying, when you give yourself permission to own and share your story, you give someone else permission as well. Woo! And I was going to tell you one thing, Susan, I noticed about your biography is you were like, I wanted to lead a life that set my soul on fire. I said, I knew this woman for a reason. Other than the unfuckable part, I'm like,
yes, we have come together.
Right? All right. So you guys, I want to introduce you guys to my guest. She's like a firecracker in human form. That's what I call it. And I'm like, when I look at your title, I'm like, I don't know which one to use. They're all so fantastic. So, Catalyst Life Coach. Oh my God, I couldn't even remember all of them. But yeah, if you would like to tell everybody a little bit about who you are, what do you do, and who do you serve?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Ashley, for having me here. My name is Susan Crawford. I am the founder of Meraki Inspired Coaching and Consultation, and I serve women who are ready to lead and live lives that are unapologetic, unconventional, and absolutely unfuckwithable. We have all the potential within us to be limitless, and I want to call that forth in every single woman that I cross paths with, because as you, Ashley, I believe when we do it ourselves, we are able to give permission for others to do it themselves. And that is really what life is all about. It's about one of my group names, Champagne on Tuesday. It's about seizing the day and taking every day for what it is and making it amazing, because it's ours and it is our birthright and it is our opportunity right in front of us to make magic. So that is what I do.
Amen to that. All right, we're gonna go to church today. Apparently,
yes, ma'am.
My good shirt, right? I'm gonna be real honest and upfront with everybody in the audience. I am wearing sweatpants. So for anybody's like, look how nice she looks. Yeah.
And I realize I got some wrinkles, but whatever. You know what? It's also about come as you are. Because I got my jogging pants on too. It's come as you are. That is authentic right there.
Well, and before we go into this, I'll say I watched an SNL sketch and comedian on there, Chris Red, they were doing like a Zoom sketch. I'm like, okay, how many of you are honestly not wearing pants right now? And I'm like, I never wear pants to Zoom calls, but yeah. So all right, so I love your mission. Obviously, I think that's a lot of why we resonate. I think it's incredibly powerful. I don't think we as women hear it enough that we're limitless and we're powerful. I think that's a dialogue that's more concentrated toward the masculine. I think that's something that a lot of men grow up hearing, but women, we're told to be complacent and be quiet and be the good little girl that, does what she's told. And, women are better seen and not heard and all that other nasty shit that we hear. So I want to know, so what is the story that got you to this place?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think a lot of it comes down to identity. I think the grandest question is, who am I and what am I here to do? And I think any time in our lives that our identity is challenged or we feel it's taken away or it's compromised, our job is to find our path again. Our job is to find our way so that we can come back home to ourselves and show up as the most authentic, genuine versions of ourselves that are just continuously growing and improving and evolving. And for me, that first hit just by birth, being a biracial woman, identity was always complex. When I had my first child, my identity was thrown into this abyss because I was a professional and all of a sudden I was on mat leave for a year with my daughter and I was a mom. And I thought, well, but a minute ago I was this role, this title, and now I'm this title that felt so limited. And, you work through those labels and titles that you're given that you don't always fit into, those boxes that you don't always fit into. And by God, I don't fit into the box. When I worked for the government, I was there for 8 years and it was never a box I fit into, but it was one that I could conform to very easily. I spent my life conforming and fitting into boxes and making sure I was liked and loved and appreciated and celebrated and acknowledged, but it never allowed me to truly be myself. And probably the most character defining moment for me in my life was the day that I said, I'm done with this. I'm unlocking my own goddamn handcuffs. I'm not waiting until my retirement day to start living. And I handed in my resignation and I walked away from a pension and benefits and a paycheck to start my own business because I had had it. I was done compromising myself, my values, what I wanted for my life. And I was not going to give my 2 daughters an example that showed them that if you're not happy with your life, the only choice you have is to settle. That was not for me and it was not going to happen. So that's what started Meraki Inspired. People always say, well, what is Meraki? I've never heard that word. It's a Greek word and it loosely translates into the creativity, passion, and love you put into something. And it's leaving the essence of yourself into everything you do. And I knew that that was what I was meant to do in this world through my coaching, through facilitating, through speaking. I want to leave myself with the people that I interact with. I want them to feel my presence. I want them to feel better for having interacted with me. I wasn't able to do that in my box. And so to create my own space, and sure as hell isn't a box, but to create my own space to be able to do that has been the most fulfilling thing for me as a mother, as a wife, as a daughter, as a woman, as all of the other labels, because I get to be fully expressed in everything that I'm doing now.
I love that. And I'm hoping I'm saying Tanya. Okay, Tanya, it says, but your hair is on point, pants are overrated. Amen to that, first and foremost, Tanya. Pants are massively overrated, all right?
Yeah, they are.
But I love that. And I resonate so hard with that because, again, going back to the discussion of being a woman and coming up in this, especially in this day and age, we are women put into a box where we are told that we have to fit into all these labels. This is what you're going to grow up and you're going to do this and you're going to get married and you have kids. And it's like, when people ask you, when I remember being married and I was always referred to as Josh's wife, and that's my ex-husband. And I'm like, but I'm not just Josh's wife or you're Hayden's mom or Rebecca's mom. And it's like, I sit there and I think it's like, yeah, but I'm so much more than that. And I love that you asked that question. It's like, who am I? And what am I here to do? And to me, it brings back that question also is like, what makes you happy? I remember thinking to myself, like, that's the most radical question you can probably ever ask a person. And what's interesting about it is when you ask somebody, like, what makes you happy, they'll tell you all the shit that does not make them happy. And it's even funnier to say to your questions, like, who am I? What am I here to do? When you ask people those questions too, they'll start telling you all this stuff that they want to do. And then you go, well, why aren't you doing it? Well, but. So I think that limiting aspect comes into play. And it can be I feel like it's such a detrimental thing.
Absolutely. And I think to that point, the one piece that's missing for women, and maybe for men too, I can't speak to that experience, but for women is, I am worthy. I am worthy to have the things in my life that make me happy. I am worthy to be in the relationships that make me happy. I am worthy to have the jobs and the work and the responsibilities that make me happy, not just the ones I've been told to have, not just the ones that have been assigned to me by society or my culture or my parents or by my surroundings. It's, I deserve to make choices for my life because I am worthy. And we don't hear those messages enough.
No. And, you know, what's even more interesting is that we're not told to say that to ourselves. We're not told to discover our own self-worth. And that actually leads me really nice into the question I want to ask. So when you come onto this journey, and, you know, being unfuckwithable, I always relate it basically as like true sovereignty. And people go, well, what does that mean? And I mean, it's just to be of yourself, to understand that you are not only allowed to hold the space you hold, but that you have every right to be big and loud and whatever it is that you want to be. But, you know, people don't realize there's a journey in that. So I have to ask you, what were those real life moments of getting you to this journey? Because I think that that's really important. We can talk about the light and the happiness and the sunshine and daisies all day long, but the reality is, you know, there's shadows and there's darkness and there's deep depths. So it's like, what were those real life moments that you really had to come through to come onto this other side?
Yeah. Well, if anybody knows Joseph Campbell's hero's journey, it's you answer the call and you finally say, yes, I'm going to take this path. It's lonely as hell. It's scary. As you said, it's dark. It's messy. It is messy because it's like somebody dumps over the Pandora's box of your life, dumps out all your shit, and you have to wade through it to make sense of it, to acknowledge it, to honor it, and then to let it go. And for me, that journey was acknowledging all of the voices, the saboteurs, the critics, the voices inside of me that were like, who do you think you are? You can't do this. You can't quit your job. You're going to be a dependent. You can't stand on your own 2 feet. How are you going to make a living being a coach? There are a million coaches. What makes you so special? Like, I could go on. There's this whole idea we have to people please. So untying ourselves from the people we feel we have to please and saying, no, actually, I have to please myself. This is my life. But this is the hard stuff because we've been taught, honor your father and mother. Make sure that you're doing things that society says make you successful. So check the box. Did you graduate? Did you get a good job? Did you get married? Did you have kids? Did you get a house? Did you do all the things you were supposed to do? Because if you didn't, then you're basically a failure. And if you dare get off the path, well, I don't know. Unless you're making those 6 figures, you're probably not really a success. So for me, it was all of that noise. It was all of the noise of you can't do this, the self-doubt, the second guessing, the proving. I can't tell you, like even now, there are moments I get caught up in proving myself, proving my worth, proving my success, proving my business, proving my existence, simply because in my head, unless I had other people's approval, acknowledgement, validation, love, acceptance, it was never enough. Keep working, keep doing, keep giving. And until I could focus inward and say, well, what is my enough? What is my definition of enough? What is my definition of success, of happiness? Then I could start finding my way. I could see the actual path that I was on. But it was overgrown. And I think when you say, you know, it's not all light and rainbows and unicorns, it's not. Everybody would be on the path if it were. Everybody would be running their own race, doing their own thing. But there's competition and comparison and guilt and shame and all of those other things that are overgrown across the path that unless you're willing to get in them and get your hands dirty, and let the emotion out and let those deep-seated shameful feelings out, you can't get to the next step on your path. And with me working with a coach has really helped me understand how critical going into the depths, into the belly of that beast of what I had been hiding, I had been protecting because, oh God, if Susan doesn't have her shit together, what will people say? And I know there are people watching this right now saying, oh, I've heard that voice before. Well, you should have your shit together. You should be a perfect mom. You should be homeschooling. You should be doing this. We're shooting all over ourselves because we're trying to prove. Until you can get rid of that, you can't even see the path. But you got to go through it. All these people, you can get around it with the love and the light. And no, you got to go right into it, right through it, up to your neck. I feel like Shawshank Redemption. It's like you're going through the shit tunnel just to get to the other side. That's what it feels like. Oh, I need somebody there to help you. I swear. You think you can do it alone. You need people to help you along that journey.
Well, and I feel like that's the part that people don't understand. When people go, well, why do you need to coach? Like, I can't I can't tell you how much of a life change it has been to have just a coach or a mentor or somebody to act as a sounding board, because someone, like, you don't know what you don't know. You don't recognize. I think one of my biggest things before was constantly apologizing, just apologizing for holding space in the world, like for being myself and being here on this planet. And I remember someone pointing out, like, why do you keep apologizing? And I feel that's what you need. People need that in your life. And that actually leads me to my next one. So my next question is, what was the most challenging belief for you to overcome?
I think bottom line, it was proving that I had to prove myself to somebody that I was good enough and worthy enough of what I was doing. And I think that's in everything, as a parent, as a partner, as a woman. I think there has always been this underlying part of my identity that has said, unless you're proving yourself, unless you're being told you're good enough, like everybody gets the gold star kind of thing, unless you get that gold star, you haven't done more. You haven't done enough. You haven't worked hard enough. And it's that cycle of, okay, well, what else do I need to do for my job? How much do I need to make? How many clients do I need to serve in order to be considered good enough? And it's that proving, that belief that I had to prove, and that I wasn't enough just as I am, that had I not come through that and continue to go through that, because I'm not going to say it's like flicking a light switch and, oh, I'm done proving so I can go live my life limitless and free. It creeps in. It's very insidious how this idea of proving can come up in so many different ways. And for me, that has been the belief that I've had to really concentrate on breaking, because this idea of proving, underneath that layer is the belief that I'm not enough as I am.
Oh man, I love that. I was going to say that one was one that I definitely had to tackle myself. And a lot of it came from, well, do you really know enough to help people along your journey? Like, that one was huge. Like, do you really know enough? No, you need to take another course, or you need to read another book, or I can't do anything until I've just gotten more knowledge in my brain to the point of not doing anything, because now I have all this knowledge and I'm like, well, what the fuck do I do?
Oh no. Yeah. And I think it's that gaining of knowledge. It's how many letters behind my name do I need to have in order to be deemed worthy, to be deemed smart enough? But also for me, I have a social work background. So I am a helper by nature. When I was in social work, I thought, oh, I can't fix this person. Like, what they've come to me with, I don't know how to fix this. And the one thing coaching allowed me to recognize and really embrace is that we're not broken. We actually aren't broken. We just maybe need support in figuring out how we are living so we can do it effectively, but we're not broken. In the coaching program I took, it was, we are all naturally creative, resourceful, and whole. And when I started seeing myself as naturally creative, resourceful, and whole, it's, oh, I am resilient. I am worthy. I can overcome. And that shift was, there's nothing to fix. There's just growth and learning and trust that will help get me to that next step, to that next level. And for me, it's not about the labels or the titles or the acronyms behind my name. It's, am I holding myself as naturally creative, resourceful, and whole? Thank you, Coactive Training Institute. And am I seeing the people I interact with in the same light. Otherwise, I'm being a fixer, and I am not a fixer. I will never say that I know more about your life than you. Who am I? Who am I to say that I would be able to fix your problems, solve your issues? I give you the tools to be able to find a solution for yourself that works for you.
You know, I want to take a moment to say that I don't think that viewpoint is preached enough, or not even, I don't feel like preaching is the proper word, but broadcasted enough in the coaching industry. I think the coaching industry has become this Band-Aid industry, and I'm going to say it, and it's going to sound very against the grain, but I think the coaching industry is really becoming a Band-Aid industry for people to think, I'm going to go to this coach and it's going to be a quick fix and I'm going to be okay. And the message that I don't see coming across, and actually I think this is one of the biggest reasons that I resonate so well with you, is because your messaging is very similar to what mine is, and is that, like, it's always a lifelong journey to growth. Like, you are going to have to be open to the fact, and you talk about perseverance and resilience, and I don't feel that is broadcasted enough in this industry to people. Like, when we're talking about, and I'm going to get to the nuts and bolts business aspect of it, but when you're talking about marketing for your ideal client, it's like, oh yeah, you're going to feel this and this and this, and but we don't tell them, it's like, yeah, but you're going to have to be opening to learning, and you're going to have to learn about resilience and perseverance, and you're going to have to learn that this is your lifelong journey, right? I don't feel like there's enough of an emphasis on that. Again, back to that light and love thing. I think it's like, oh, let's make everything rainbows and freaking unicorns, and make people think that you're going to come here and it's going to be this great quick fix and this will be all good.
Mm-hmm. No. No, that for me, at least, that is the farthest from reality. That is the farthest from my reality with my coach. And that is the farthest reality with the people I work with. If you don't think that working with a coach is going to be hard work, that it's going to be ongoing, that it's like building a muscle at the gym that you consistently have to practice and use it, then coaching will not work, because your coach is not there to solve your problem. Your coach is not there to fix you. Your coach is there to be a mentor and a guide and to push you. But you have to be committed to that journey. You have to be all in. You are going to be scared to death to dive face first into the shit that you have to clean up. Your coach is the person that's going to be with you to get through it. But they can't walk that path for you. They will be with you, but they can't walk that path with you. They may be a few steps ahead of you because they've been there. Shit, I've been where a lot of the women I work with have been and are now. And I'm sort of guiding them through, but I can't make them come. It's like you can lead a horse to water. You can't make it drink. You can't make somebody change their life if they don't want to. If they're not 100% hell yes, full in, then coaching isn't going to work. And I wish it were like that light switch you could flick on and be like, wow, my life does have more unicorns and lollipops in it. Doesn't work that way. It does. Shit. If it did, then everybody would have a coach. But it doesn't work that way. People have to be willing to do the work.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I'm going to say, I think that's the other spectrum of it. It's like, you realize, it might not always be rainbows and unicorns, and yeah, life's going to hit you, but it's your way of thinking that switches. Like, for me, the biggest shift that I found, and that's actually what I'd like to know next, is like, what was that big shift? The biggest shift for me came in viewing not that life was happening to me. Like, we oftentimes go, oh my God, why is this happening to me? Like, why am I going through this? Oh my God, FML. Like, all right, you know what? I'm really uncomfortable right now. Like, I'm really uncomfortable with the fact that this is happening, but you know what? This has got to be happening for a reason. What am I supposed to learn from it? And that just alone, being able to ask that, reframed how I viewed every single thing that came into my life that happened. In it, we talk about our mentality of having a lack mentality, and it's like literally flipping the switch on your lack mentality and going, okay, you know what? I don't lack anything. I have everything I need right here. So what am I getting from this?
Yeah. Yeah. And, it's funny that coaching isn't like flipping a switch, but when your clients have that moment when the switch is flipped, when they're like, you mean I have a choice? I can quit my job? You mean I have a choice? I don't have to accept my life the way it is. I can make shifts and adjustments in how I think, in how I feel, in how I behave based on these things changing, like that is the rainbows and unicorns. That is the moment where they were like, what? And it's like, you can hear a pin drop, because it's those moments where they're like, I have everything I need inside of me to be able to make this happen. I have it already. And we've just been able to weed through the stuff to be able to access it. And that's the light switch that I wait for.
So what are some of the tools that you've come across that have helped you move along your route? Like, this is actually one of my favorite questions to be asked. Like, what is some of the tools that you've used? I'm like, do you have a pen and a piece of paper? Because I can let you know. Because it's going to be a long one. And how far back do you want to go?
Yeah. It's, what's really interesting is that I would say all of the tools I learned in my coaching program have been catalysts for waking me up to the limitless potential that I have in my life. I am indebted to that program, because when I went to it, I was a broken shell of myself. I was in a shitty, toxic job that had made me believe, and I had allowed to let me believe, that I had nothing to offer, nothing to contribute, nothing unique, and that I had to conform into a little box in order to survive until my retirement date of December 31st, 2044. It still gives me the heebie-jeebies just thinking of the fact that I could have stayed there, because I didn't think it was possible. The first person that coached me introduced me to the exquisite moment of choice. The exquisite moment of choice that allowed me to see that in every instant, even if it can pass us by, there is one hair of a moment that we get to choose how we are. And in that exquisite moment of choice, everything can change. The next thing that I was enlightened to and introduced to was the voice of that inner critic, knowing that it wasn't me, that it was the voices of my experiences, of my fears, of my doubts, but they were not me, which led into this idea that we all have an inner leader, the voice that trumps the inner mean girls that we always hear nattering at us, telling us we're not good enough, we're not pretty enough, we're not thin enough, we're not smart enough, we're not doing enough. That actually says, wait a second, you know who you are. This inner leader is the core of your character. This is the person that drives you from the heart to every instance that is meant for you and leads you there with courage and determination and passion. And unlocking that, unstoppable. When you have the power of that inner leader, of that voice, you can get into the mud. You can get into the muck. You can get messy, because you know inside you, you are stronger and you are more capable than you thought to get through it. And then at the end of that, you get to design your life. You get to choose with either a yes or a no, what you want, what you don't want, what you are willing to work for, and what you are willing to leave behind. And when you cross that threshold of this idea of possibility to action and to commitment, I get goosebumps just thinking about it, because that's how powerful it was. It was like building myself up again from the inside, from my very core, reminding me who I was, because who I started off in this experience as, it was not me. I was a mom who had no sleep. I was in a toxic job. I had no confidence. I was me, but I was the mask. The mask was on of life is rainbows and unicorns, because if it isn't, then it's not perfect. And if it's not perfect, then that means I don't have my shit together. And if I don't have my shit together, someone might find me out. That's not the way I wanted to live at all. So as I peeled away these layers with these tools, with these skills, with these mentors, I was able to find myself again. And the gift is being able to teach people how to do that for themselves, to be able to access that within themselves so that they can be models for themselves, for their mothers, for their grandmothers who didn't have those skills and abilities or the opportunity to harness them, for their children. I look at my girls and I'm like, you are not going to have the same path as me. That's just a fact, because I am rewiring, I am unlearning, I am unplugging, I'm deprogramming all of the stuff that I absorbed, that I took on, that I learned, that no longer fits with this version of me. And I believe if women, if men, if people can understand that there is more to where they are, it requires courage to get there. It requires bravery to take those first steps, to ask for help, to admit that I am not my best right now. Then all of that can be theirs. And that is the limitless possibility. But it's those tools that help me get into this position, into this place. And I don't want people watching to think that this happened overnight or I've got it all figured out, because I still stumble. I still rely on my coach a great deal to say, okay, I know we've done this before, but this is how it came in this time. And we still do the work. There's a lot of rewiring that has to happen. And we're doing the work. And so those are the tools. Those are the things that I learned that I want to teach others, because they were such a gift to me. And I believe others should have access to those gifts, not because they have to become coaches, but because this is birthright. This is knowledge that people deserve to have so that they can live their lives to the fullest.
Well, and I going back to being unfuckable, I think that that's the true power of sovereignty, is knowing that you already have everything you need within you, and you have the capability to call upon that whenever you need it. And I don't feel like that's definitely not a message that women are brought to. I don't think that we support that message in humanity as a whole. But to bring that message to women, it's like, oh, well, no, we don't want to let you know that you're that powerful. You know, no. We're not you got a little bit,
just a little, right?
just a little bit. Oh, crap. And okay. And then you inspired me to ask a question. So I was on a podcast and someone asked me this, and since we're talking about authentic self and what it means to know ourselves from the inside, this was a really, I'm telling you, it's going to be like a speech I have one day, and it was just a really pivotal question for me. So I want to ask you this, because I'm just like, it just really lit my soul on fire. So how do you turn your mess into your message? Because this was a big thing. I had a woman that I knew, she was on the very beginning of the show. I think she was like episode 2. And she was at one phase in her life. So fast forward to like a month or 2 later, she's going through some shit, like some real life shit that nobody wants to talk about, that piece that nobody will, like, I don't really want to, like, if people, again, she was running an online business. So she felt like people knew the reality, like people were not going to want to. And she's like, I was going into this group, right? First and foremost, this group that she's supposed to feel safe in. And she said, and I was talking about what I was going through, and she literally had people telling her to stop because she might be too messy. She shouldn't. And I was like, what? I'm like, but that's how you let people know you overcame. So for me, I was like, your mess is your message. Like, that is your message. How the fuck did you get through it? How did you not go on the floor and curl up into a ball and die right there? Like, what is it? Because people need to know how you survived and how you move through. So I have to ask you, when we talk about how do you turn your mess into your message, what would be your response to that? Because I'm curious to know your thoughts on it.
Yeah. I was so ashamed of my mess. I was so ashamed and I can vividly remember the day I walked into my doctor's office and said, I might have postpartum depression. And my heart sank, because I was a label. I was a statistic now. And it was because that label challenged the Susan has her shit together belief that I was maintaining. I remember filling out the questionnaire and crying, and the doctor saying, okay, well, we'll get you to talk to a social worker. And it was actually a wonderful man that I met and connected with. And through that mess, the one question, and the title of this podcast or recording is She Dared, because he said to me, when you look back on your life, do you want your tombstone to say she was the woman who doubted, or she was the woman who dared? That flipped the switch, because I had to acknowledge my mess before I could step into my calling. Before I could start doing this work, I had to be honest that I did not have my shit together, that I was suffering, that I was hurting, and that I didn't need to be ashamed of it, regardless of what society had taught me or told me, that I didn't need to hide it. And so when we talk about your mess being your message, for me, it's teach from the scar, not the wound. And And I know that it's still a wound if I go on stage and I still feel overcome like I did the first time I felt it. So that tells me I've got more work to do. But it is our responsibility, I feel, that if we have mess, acknowledge that your mess is here to teach you something, at least, if not others, because there are others that are suffering in silence. There are others that are thinking, oh my God, I've got to be the only one. For me, it was, look at all these moms with the pictures on Facebook, and they've had their photo shoots and the cake smashes, and I wasn't doing any of that. I was just content sitting at home with my little family by myself and not interacting with anybody because I was lost. My identity had shattered like a bowl on the ground. That was my mess. And to acknowledge my mess was there and to honor my mess was the only way I was going to be able to make it into a message. The only way. And so creating space for others who are in their mess, who are hiding their mess, who are ashamed of their mess. I want to make a space for everyone to say, it's okay. We've all got our own messes in our own way. This is a safe space to be able to just look at it, and say, this is going to be part of my message. However that message is shared with our kids, with our families, with our friends. This is just part of our message.
Well, and going to that, I think that is so important because I've always said, especially as people who lead, coaches, leaders, whatever, you really can't take people to the depths that you yourself have not gone to.
100%.
For me, it was like trying to take these large leaps and not having taken the journey before I made the leaps, right? So it's like trying to get to a destination, but no map to bring me there.
Yeah.
I tell people, it's like, how do you create the map? Someone has had to have ventured there ahead of you. So if you've never gone there, then you need to find someone who has.
Yeah.
And that was really instrumental for my life because for so long, especially when I started in this journey, I was like, I'm going to talk about this and this. And it's like, but you've never done any of that.
Mm-hmm.
How can you help people facilitate that? And I think it goes back to that proving thing, like, especially when I first came into the space, it was really when it was starting to pick up. And it was like, hit 10K months in 90 days and da-da-da. And I'm like, oh, well, if I'm not hitting 10K months in my business being a complete newbie in 90 days, then I failed. And I can't tell you how many times I acted out of that space of feeling like I wasn't living up to the status that I had imposed upon myself. In fact, I think when I did a belief check, it was recognizing that I was hustling to ascertain a status symbol based on what I believed other people's expectations were of me. So it wasn't even like I was basing my own expectations off of my perceived view of other people's expectations.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't the truths, but I thought, well, if I'm not doing this, and I'll tell you, a lot of it came from, my family, and they did it in a loving way. But when you hear like, how's business going? And you're like, oh, God,
yeah. Yeah. And that is the constant. I'm not enough. I need to prove, I need to show them, I need to hustle. I need to make sure that people think I'm successful. To what extent? To what people are posting on social media? Well, is that the only definition of success? I keep telling people I walked away from the golden handcuffs, the dream job that people are falling over themselves for. That's not a motivator for me. The money, the prestige is not a motivator for me. That's not why I coach. My why is much different than that. Not to knock anybody who wants to make the money. I'd love to make money. Money is fantastic. Change your relationship with money. That's the first thing. But money is not my primary motivation to why I do this work. I love this work. I love the women I work with. I love the community we have because I get to see people step into their greatness, to believe in themselves again, to find their confidence, to say, this is what I want. And I deserve to go after it. Like, what better job is there to be able to help facilitate that, to witness that? That's what I want to do.
And I love that you said that, because that was one of the other things that I came across a lot is like, if you aren't chasing the 5 and 6K months, then you really don't want success. And I was like, well, it's like, view is, well, money's not that, it's not about the money, then you have a bad relationship with money. And I'm like, no, what if it's like, I really legitimately want to see people get helped. I mean, there's some things that literally that money just cannot provide to you. You can't. And that's actually the next question for you I have is like, what did it look like to redefine success on your terms? What did your success, like your terms of success, look like? Because I know a big thing for me was releasing what I thought was success to me, and recognizing that success was feeling peace and being able to spend time with my kids when I wanted, and just being a happy person, whatever that looked like.
Yeah, you nailed it. I could reiterate that word for word. It was to be happy again, to not come home having spent my energy budget in a place that I just felt like I was surviving in, and then come home and give my family the leftovers. That redefinition of success was, so if it's not the money and the prestige of this position in this organization, then what is it? And allowing myself to choose something different, that path that not everybody goes on. And yes, it's harder. And yes, it's more uncertain and unpredictable. But that's what I wanted, because it wasn't going to be where I was. And that was life or death. There was no way I would be able to, my soul could not survive there. And so redefining success for me was that question: what makes me happy? I love job crafting. I love variety. So don't even get me started on niching, because that was probably the hardest part of starting my business, is that I feel pulled in so many directions because my identity is not linear. It's not one thing. I am a mother, and I am a woman, and I am an individual, and I am a spouse, and I am a daughter. And there are all these little compartments of me that are interconnected. Right? They're all so interconnected that if I just look at one facet of work, yes, that's a part of me, but that little place of work impacts everything else around me. That's why I quit, because it was negatively impacting everything else around me. My definition of success was, am I happy? Am I being the best mother that I can be? Like, am I showing up for my family and my friends and my loved ones in a way that makes me proud? Am I honoring my values, or am I compromising them in order to fit into something that is not for me, or a version of myself that no longer works for me? The people pleaser, the guilt-ridden one, the perfectionist. There's no time for her anymore, because I have stepped into that next version of me where those things are not requirements of worth or of worthiness. They do not define my worthiness anymore.
Well, and to like add on to that, I feel like the age we're going into now is we're moving away from that old patriarchal dominated view of success, like the car, the house, all the material shit, because we realize that those are just things, I mean, things are going to come and go. You can have all the money in the world and lose it the next day in an instant. And it's like, if that's your happiness meter, then that means you're going to be real depressed tomorrow. I always tell people, it's like, if I lost everything that I had right now, would I be a little bummed out for about a day? Go, oh shit, yeah, oh no. But then I'd be like, you know what though? I have my kids, and I have support, and I have, and I'm not everybody always has that, but it's like, if I can go to bed with myself at the end of the night and be happy with how I showed up, then I knew that I was successful in that. And I feel like that's the route that we're starting to go towards. I think you talked about niching. I've had a recent battle with the reach out. Go out and prospect to people. Go out and reach out. Yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, I do not resonate with that one single bit. Every bit of it feels like slimy to me. Yeah. And I had people tell me like, well, if you don't do it, you're not gonna, it's like, dude, like there has to be another way. There has to, like, I know that can't be the way. I know how I feel when people reach out to me. Like my favorite question from other coaches, and I'm not knocking them, but I'm just going to tell you, I'm not receptive to this. So any coach,
please don't do this.
How are you getting clients? None of your damn business is how I'm getting clients. None of your damn business is how I'm getting clients. Mind yourself. And what's crazy is they keep coming back. Like you don't even have to answer them. They keep coming back. It's like, dude, I don't have a conversation with you, man. I don't want to have a conversation with you. And so I think that's it. You talk about niching. I think we have to recognize by looking at our clients as well as like, how are we actually receptive to marketing? That was a huge one to me too. Is like, how are we receptive? Like, to me, I knew that if I wanted to coach, I was going to go out and find one.
Mm-hmm.
I was not going to be receptive to people hopping in and going, oh, hey, yeah, let me coach. Like, no, dude, when I want something, I'm going to go out, I'm going to find it. Yeah. And so that was the biggest releaser for me. And I have to, what was the biggest thing that you had to release that allowed you to show up in your business and be like, okay, like, you know what, this is good. I'm okay with this not being the way it is.
I'm only laughing because I've been noticing the wrinkles on my shirt. And if my mom's watching, she's probably mortified. But I noticed the biggest thing for me was recognizing I don't need to be other coaches. And again, not knocking, but the ones that are just so beautifully done up with the lashes and the hair and the outfits that are rented. That's not me. Like, that is just not me. So for me, the whole, the idea of niching was, well, how do you find your clients? I show up and I am just 100% me. I'm not everybody's cup of tea, but I might be a few people's. So great. Consistency, show up, be yourself. I think I was on a live in my group. I started choking on water. I was like, well, this is what this is going to be. I can only be me because anything else is a performance. And I'm not here to I've performed for 40 years of my life. I am done. I didn't win an Oscar. I could have, but I did not win an Oscar. I did not win any, awards or medals. Now it's my time. I am 40. Now it's my time to just show up and be myself because I am done doing the rest. Now it's what I carve out. Everything from this point forward is designed by me. And so that's wrinkly shirt and jogging pants and all, because that's it. You know why? Because these are the people I serve. These are the women I serve. They're the ones with kids that have food in their hair and stains on their shirt. They're the ones that haven't slept. The ones who haven't had a hot fucking coffee in years. They're the ones who are tired and overwhelmed and they just want support and they just want help to figure out what the fuck is going on in their lives because all of a sudden they've hit midlife and shit just falls all over the place. So you know what? I am here. If you're going to judge how I look and say that is a descriptor of my ability as a coach, cool. We're probably not going to mesh. But if you like my energy, if you like what I'm saying, and you think you and I could, vibe, let's try this out. That is how I show up. That is how I coach. And that is who I am. And I think for me, whatever the niche is, if that is how we connect on that like visceral level, that's what I have to offer. That's what I do. That's how I find clients. I just show up and be myself.
And you see, I love that because it goes so against the grain, and it's funny because I'm actually in a group and I love him, and he's all about niching. And for a long time, that was my message too. Like, you got a niche, you got to start somewhere. You can't help everybody. But the fact of the matter is, like, I've had clients that are married mothers, had clients, that are single moms, people with no kids. It's like, dude, you're going to hit everywhere. There's no way for me to say that this is this, like, I can give you a couple specifics. I generally know an age range, but, I can't say specifically that that's where that's going to come from. But I think, again, it comes back to that putting us into a box because that's where we need to fit, right? Putting a bunch of square pegs into trying to shove square pegs into round holes. No, I'm sure that's not going to happen. Like,
Yep, it's not going to work. And it works for some people. And I say kudos because, boy, like, how did you make it work? I don't feel I am one-dimensional, so I don't want to coach people who are one-dimensional because I don't think people are one-dimensional. So if a guy comes up to me and says, listen, I think you and I would match as a coach, cool, let's do it. But I think because we are so multifaceted and our lives are so dynamic and they cross over, I help people become unapologetic, live unconventional, unfuckwithable lives. If that is something you want, I'm your coach. I will help you do that using the tools and maybe modifying them a little bit, but using the tools. And again, there's not one tool. If I had a cookie cutter, it was like, okay, you have a fun, unfuckwithable life. So do you. You have an unapologetic life. Good job. It doesn't work like that. Everybody's lives are so different and so dynamic that the relationship that we create is what's going to work for you specifically. Here are my tools and I'm going to bring them with me, but You tell me where we're going. You tell me what's going to be most meaningful for you in the change you want to create for your life.
Amen to that. And I'm like, I want to stamp.
Yeah.
There you go. It's like Oprah. You're unfuckable. You're unfuckable.
Unfuckwithability, right? You get unfuckable.
And I can't. Like, I'm choking on my own spit here. I'm dying. You talked about. Oh no, you're not talking about. I love that you can pronounce it. Oh my God. I'm just gonna say this.
It's not unfuckable. I am not promoting unfuckability.
Unfuckable, unfuck with what? Like I can't. Like the reason originally when I started my company, it was the unfuckable woman because I'm like I'm gonna help women figure this out. Like if I could put this into a pill and give it to them, I would because it's like the most freeing thing in the world.
Matrix.
And I can't tell many people like fudge it up, and I'm like, you know what? This is just we're gonna just hyphen this a little bit. And it worked out really well. You know, it ended up working out the way it should. But I just want to say, I love that you can pronounce it because some people are just like, what?
It's messy.
What are you doing? Is that my favorite? Is that a word? Is that a real word?
Yes.
In some dictionaries it is. Maybe not Merriam-Webster's yet.
Sorry, Miriam, but
There are dictionaries out there that it is, okay? Like if we can put, I don't know, what was it? They put one of the newer words in there. I'm like, if we can put that word in there, like we can have this word in there, okay?
Bootylicious can be in the dictionary, so can unfuckwithable.
What word?
Bootylicious.
Oh my Lord. Oh gosh. Oh my gosh. Okay. That all women should feel bootylicious, okay?
Yes.
If you feel like you ain't got a booty, you should still feel bootylicious. Bootylicious is a feeling, I think. Like you ain't gotta have a booty necessarily, all right? So the next part I'm gonna ask you is if someone came up and asked you for advice, what are 3 pieces of key life advice or tips that you would give them to help them along their own journey?
Well, it's those 3 things. Stop apologizing for being you, for wanting to live your life, for wanting to break free from the matrix, for wanting to stop being tied to the feelings and thoughts and judgments of other people. So stop that. Lean in to being unconventional. Being in a box is overrated, and we are not meant to be in boxes. So bust out, lean in, figure out how you are unconventional and embrace it. Let that be your calling card. Let that be what speaks for you, and be unfuckwithable. The peace, the calmness, the confidence, the courage that comes with unfuckwithability is limitless. It is your potential. It is your magic. When you harness those 3 things, your life will change exponentially. And I know that because I practice them every single day. Your life will change exponentially when you are unapologetic, unconventional, and unfuckwithable.
Amen.
That's what I would say.
Like that's all. Mic drop. We are.
That's what I would tell them.
And I guess that really asked me. So when you were, what is the biggest message that you like? What is your message? How did your mess turn into your message? Like, what is that message you talk to women about?
Yeah. 3 words. I am worthy. It is evolving into 3 simple words. I am worthy. I am worthy of change. I am worthy of disrupting my life. I'm worthy of waking up and living my life. I am worthy of making choices that are not the choices that other people would make for me. I am worthy encompasses all of that. It encompasses self-care and compassion. It encompasses grace. It encompasses forgiveness. It encompasses being big and not feeling like you have to be anything other than the woman or person you are. I am worthy means you are accepting of yourself and you love yourself for everything that you are and everything that you're not and everything that you are becoming.
And we have about 5-ish minutes left. So this is the part where I ask you if people want to connect with you, what services do you offer? What is the best way to get a hold of you? And for anybody wondering, her links are in the descriptor. So whether you're on YouTube or Facebook, her links are on the descriptor. So feel free to reach out to her. But yeah, how do people reach you and what are the services you offer that work with you?
The magic happens on Facebook. I hate to say it, the magic happens on Facebook. So find me there first. My website is linked, MerakiInspired.com. I have a fantastic program that I just launched this month. It's called Find Your Way, and it's about helping women return back and recalibrate their internal GPS, finding their self-compassion, their character, their courage, and their sense of choice, so that their lives and the life that they design is completely aligned with who they are and what they do. It's going back inside and then reintroducing that best version of yourself into the world. I run it every month. It's a 4-week program. The women I have in it right now are fantastic. And the insights that come to them every day that they're sharing is phenomenal, because these are things you are not told how to do. These are pieces of my journey that I'm able to share, the wisdom, the tools. It's already in you. You just need to have that light to shine on them to say, this is what I have access to. So that's probably one of my favorite programs. And of course, one-on-one coaching is one of the other offers that I have. It's one-on-one coaching or groups.
I love groups. I think that's where I see like most change happen, because it's not just like that you're coaching. It's there are other people bringing in perspectives that you can't bring.
Yes.
And I want to like hint on that, like talk on that for just a moment. When I came into the space, I think what was most revolutionary, especially when I started the show, was the fact that we couldn't share. And that bothered me so much. I was like, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean we can't share our platforms? And it's like, no, you got to be about yourself. And for so long, I think, especially as women, we have been held under that oppressive thought that women can't work together. You cannot be mutually successful. And I was like, that does not work for me. And so when I see these groups and stuff like that, and which honestly, it makes me happy, because since I've started this show, I've probably helped and facilitated in some way. I'm not saying it's a credit thing, but seen other people do similar things.
Yeah.
And I've had people go, well, why are you allowed? Like, why are you doing that? Because I think that's a beautiful space. Like, I think we should be showing people how to do these other things. So I think the group aspect is a beautiful thing, because it's not just your expertise. Like, you're there, but the magic. Yeah.
And the group that I have on Facebook is Champagne on Tuesday, because I was raised to believe that champagne is for, special occasions. Save it for Sunday. No. It is for any day of the week. And I chose Tuesday because why not Tuesday? So Champagne on Tuesday is our Facebook group. Join us. And women contribute. They post. They share. They support one another. And that is, as you said, that is exactly what it's all about. Building the community, showing women can lift one another up. It doesn't have to be competition. We are here. We are in it together. Let us share our experiences and share our love for one another.
Now I feel like there needs to be another group called Pancakes on Wednesday, because pancakes are Saturday, all right? Champagne on Tuesdays and pancakes on Wednesdays, okay? And Angela says, another great episode. Thank you, Angela. So glad you were here. And thank you to everybody that was here, even if you didn't even if you just watched. I think that's the power of this. I think the power is in being able to share our message with people, so that other people, again, like you said, recognize what they have going on and realize that they already are everything that they need to be, and they have what they need to be. Sometimes we do need tools like coaches and stuff to help us weed through that. But I want to challenge everybody, not challenge, but to remind everybody and mirror back what Susan said. You're not broken. I think there's a lot of people in this world that think, well, we're broken. We're broken, and you're not broken. We have been taught by society that, again, if you don't fit into the box, there's something wrong with you. If you're, if you have a mental illness or whatever, you're broken. We must fix you with all these drugs and whatever else. And the reality is, it's like, you're not broken. There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing to fix. A coach is not gonna, is not here to fix things for you. Maybe you're just not on your path, and that's okay. I think the biggest thing that was revolutionary for me was something that wasn't actually related to coaching at all. And that was learning what real compassion was. And real compassion is acknowledging that I'm allowed to be here and hold space, and everybody else is allowed to be here and hold their own space. And we're all allowed to hold space together, and that's okay. And that's fine. And that was revolutionary for me, because it really changed how I started viewing things and how I started viewing people. So for anybody out there, you're not, there's nothing wrong with you. You're not broken. And if you're going through something now, this is really important, because this was a conversation I had to have with my daughter, who's struggled with mental health issues. And I said, one day you're going to understand. One day you're going to understand why you went through it. It might not look like it now, and it's tough. And it sucks because she's 14 and she should not have gone through a lot of what she's gone through. But I said, one day you're going to understand and you're going to share that message and you're going to change somebody's life because of it. So if you're wondering like why you're going through what you're going through, I challenge you to see what it is that you're actually supposed to be receiving from it. And the other thing, if you can't help yourself in that moment, I would also challenge you to ask, well, how can I help somebody else through this? So like, that's like my little end notes there. Also, you guys, I want to put this out there. We're having two domestic violence panels coming up, not next week, but the following 2 weeks. So I have a couple spots open on those to any woman or man, all women or men. I would love to offer you a spot on the show. And then also just make sure you guys join us on Tuesday for our next panel. We're going to talk about holistic health and nutrition. And yeah, and I hope, I want to say thank you so much, Susan, for being on here. I am just so appreciative of you. I think your message is just like very reaffirming, because you're really the only other coach I've ever met that talks about being unfuckwithable. I know we talk about being in an authentic self, but it's not about, I think the truth of authenticity is sovereignty. It's just being able to say, this is me. And whether you like it or not, whether you think I'm authentic or not, this is it. I don't apologize for what comes out of my mouth. And I say a lot of shit. Like, I don't apologize for that. And I think that the more people we can bring to that space of being unapologetic in a way that's conscious of themselves and people as well, I think the more we're going to start seeing people be able to be free from all these chains, right? The chains that bind us, these shackles. Yeah. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ashley, for having me again.
Awesome. All right, you guys. So I will see you guys Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. As always, please, 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 anybody is welcome. And actually, I want to sideline this one more time. So as I started in the beginning, obviously, we all know what's going on in the world right now, the George Floyd death and everything that is going on. And I actually might do a little bit of a live on this after this. But for a minute, I had to take a step back and figure out where how did I want to show up in this space? And I realized the beautiful thing about having a platform like this is being able to offer it to people. I wanted to be a voice for the voiceless, right? So I want to provide this platform as a way for everybody, and especially people of color, to come on and share their stories of what they've gone through. And not in a way, like I was telling Susan, not in a way that you feel that you need to educate people, because again, it's not your responsibility to educate anybody. But I wanted to be able to provide this as a space for people to have a voice, to just share their story, to be seen and heard. And so I welcome anybody to come on and just share their story, man, woman, like whatever it is. I open up the table to have conversations and dialogue. And so I feel that it's really important to highlight on that, especially in this moment, because I think if you have a platform and you're just choosing to be willfully ignorant of the reality of the world right now, I don't think you're doing yourself or anybody else any justice. And that's not pressuring people into like, oh, you have to show up. But I think at the end of the day, we have to ask ourselves, where do we stand? What do we stand for? Back to, like you said, the values. Like, what values do I hold? And am I representing those values the way I want to? So I send that as an open invitation. And I hope that anybody who feels called to be on here just to share their voice and their story will reach out, and we will make magic happen. So, all right, you guys, I hope everybody has a phenomenal Thursday evening. Good weekend. It's going to be a good weekend, everybody. I have faith that we are going to start moving forward in the direction that is going to be most beneficial for us, the people, not the higher ups, but us, the people. So, all right. Thank you, guys. I will see you Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Bye, y'all. Oh.